here at Hunter. I'm a history major, also. And as a history major, that just sort of means that I have to sort of take time out of my busy schedule occasionally to, read a few books and attend a class or two on the subject. And this is the Roosevelt Institution, after all, and I took the time to learn a few things about Roosevelt. Actually, I didn't. I sort of outsourced the folks that write my papers, so I got it from them, and I wrote it down here. Here's my pen. All right, so let's see what we got here. I'll just give you a sort of brief rundown of our Roosevelt legacy that we've sort of come up with from India. Anyway, we had start off with Theodore Roosevelt, and he was famous for being a Rough Rider. You may have seen our posters around signifying that. He charged up San Juan Hill, of all things. Now this was really the first sign of military intelligence in play, because it turns out San Juan is in Puerto Rico. I don't know how that happened, but anyway, after that happened, he became president, and he was big on conservation. Not conservatism, conservation. He wanted to preserve trees and forests, but without the Indians, of course. So he was big on that. And then between Roosevelt and FDR, nothing much really happened. I don't really have anything for that period. But then FDR came on board, and that was right after the Great Depression. And FDR ran on a great platform, the Great Zoloft. And he won, even though nobody really knew what Zoloft was back then, because they figured, what the hell, he looks like a nice guy. Even though, back when he was 39, he was crippled in a great polo accident. No, polio, wasn't it? Okay. All right, well, polio. He was actually the fifth cousin of Teddy Roosevelt, and it turns out that he and Eleanor were also related as well, distant cousins. So he would have been that really creepy guy at family dinners, I think, sort of in the corner, hogging all the drumsticks. But anyway, so it turns out that the two were related, but then who isn't really related to FDR? I, in fact, with my Greek heritage, am related to FDR. I just learned that this morning on Ancestry.com. He was apparently for a while. Who knew? Anyway, so while in office, we know that he made several great strides in politics. He was the first person to appoint a woman to the cabinet, Frances Perkins. Frances Perkins was female. She served under FDR, and she also starred in the movie Psycho. Wait, that was Anthony Perkins, right? No. All right. Well, anyway, first 100 days. That was something we all know about, I think. The first 100 days. They were a great 100 days, and in that period, Roosevelt created the WPA, the TVA, and MTV. Its mission to set out and find and kill that damn video that killed the radio star. Anyway, hopefully people know MTV to know that. Anyway, so basically America found that acronyms were really making the world easier back then, WPA, TVA, etc. And we decided, fuck the Depression, screw the Depression. And we got right at that. And Roosevelt helped with his fireside chats. Now, the fireside chats were radio broadcasts that Roosevelt would come on and talk to the American people. And he would make everybody feel really close-knit. Now, this was much better than his tactic back when he was in college, back in the 19-teens, where he would actually have to go down chimneys to do a fireside chat into people's houses. He got about halfway through the city of Albany when he realized he can't do this Santa Claus thing anymore. Luckily, radio came along by the time he was president, and everything was all right. Now, later in life, he got a more reputable name. By his third term, he was safe on third. That was sort of the banner of the time. And Eleanor wanted to celebrate this. There was a historian at the time who said, FDR might be the greatest president we've had since Lincoln. We've all heard this. Eleanor, hearing this, said, I really want to take you out to a show, to the theater, to celebrate this. And they were like, no, I don't need to be the next Lincoln in that way. So they didn't do that. But December 7th, 1941, we all know the famous quote, the date which will live in infamy, started off as the date which will live in world history, actually, which he scribbled out. And actually that was initially the date which will live in cheese And after that, he decided he wasn't going to write speeches on his shopping list anymore. So that's where we're at with FDR. He, of course, beat the Nazis alone, I believe. And then by 1945, he had unfortunately went to sleep. He's still around somewhere, like Elvis. And we have now the Roosevelt House, which we are in possession of here at Hunter College, which I'll talk for a moment about. That was a wedding present from Eleanor and Franklin to Sarah Roosevelt. The catch was, of course, that the house was divided in half, and the mother-in-law, of course, lived in the other half. Now, you can imagine the talks they had about that. But luckily for us now, they're, well, all unfortunately deceased, and we have the house, and Hunter doesn't have a mother-in-law, so we're lucky on that front. I'll go over the more in-depth policy stuff later, but Joe's going to be serious for a few moments and give us some real meaty stuff on the institution. Thanks.